It was the 4th of July at my best friend's parents' place. His dad, Richard, walked in the way he always does. Easy, unhurried, the kind of calm that only comes from not having to worry. You knew immediately. This is the man who mentions buying a vacation home in Aspen the way most people mention getting a new couch. Paid cash. 3 country club memberships, all 4 kids went to Ivy League schools, and not one of them graduated with $1 of debt. I looked at Sarah, she looked at me. No vacation home, no country club. We were honestly trying to figure out how we were covering hockey equipment for our kid the following week, and we'd been doing everything right for over a decade. So I walked up to Richard and I asked, "What do you actually know that most people don't?" He put his drink down, said, "Come on," took me to his den and sat me down. Here's the first thing that surprised me. It wasn't a hot stock tip, no Bitcoin, no inside track on the SpaceX IPO, nothing you'd see on a finance influencer's Get Rich Quick page. He called them old rules. His father's rules, and his father's before that. Rules that don't expire. I wrote every one of them down on a cocktailed napkin that night. 7 rules, here they are. And I'll warn you, at least one is going to sound completely backwards. The last one especially. Stay for that one. 7 old money rules that couples used to build generational wealth. In order, right now. Keep track as we go. How many of these does your household actually have? Because by the end, you'll see exactly what the gap costs in real dollars. Hey, I'm Mike Miller, and if you've ever wondered why some families build wealth that lasts generations while yours feels like it's starting from scratch every time, this channel was built for you and your partner. So subscribe now. Sarah and I were that couple. Every rule in this video is something we wish somebody had handed us 10 years ago. One thing before we start, and Richard was emphatic about this. Every rule on this list requires your partner, not just you. Without both people locked in, that rule breaks the moment money gets tight. He didn't call these personal habits. He called them household rules. Both people hold them, or neither does. Here's what he told me, in the order he told me. The first rule Richard shared, the frugal alignment rule. Not about deprivation, about shared commitment. Are you both aligned on what enough looks like? If not, this rule is already broken. One partner saves for 3 years straight, packs lunch, skips the upgrade, frees up $18,000. Real discipline. The other spends it. New furniture, a vacation, things that felt responsible at the time. 3 years of discipline, gone. Net worth, exactly the same. Thomas Stanley spent decades studying how wealthy families actually build and keep money. One finding stood above everything else. A couple cannot accumulate wealth if one of its members is a hyper-consumer. Someone who spends every dollar of slack the other partner creates. Sarah and I hit this in year 2. One of us was absorbing the other's discipline and didn't even realize it. The fix? We sat down and agreed on what enough looks like for our household. Together, before the money arrived. That number, agreed on in advance, is what makes this rule hold. Here's why most couples miss it. Both people already have a number in their head. They've just never said it out loud to each other. Together, you decide what enough is. That's the whole rule. This week, write the number, the lifestyle ceiling you both agree on. Both people sign off. Rule 2 is what enforces it every single time money moves. Rule 2. The household veto. Not about distrust, about eliminating financial surprise. Do you have a threshold? A number above which both of you have to say yes before money moves? If not, this rule is already broken. 2 in 5 Americans who combine finances have committed financial infidelity against their partner. Harris Poll, on behalf of the National Endowment for Financial Education, 2021. 2 in 5. Not a small impulse buy, moving household money without the other person knowing, usually without thinking of it as hiding anything at all. Old money had a rule. Pick a number. Anything above that, both people say yes first. Before the purchase, not after. Before. University of Georgia research. Couples who agreed on their spending approach were 105% more likely to pool and grow their money together. We set ours at 500. It stopped at least 2 decisions we'd have regretted. Not because we said no to each other, because having to bring it up made both of us stop and think. Here's why it fails. The number never gets set before you need it. The big purchase happens first. Then you're having the wrong conversation. Set your threshold together this week. No more silent moves that blindside your partner. Rule 3 is about what you could be building. And one number is going to change how you think about every year you've waited. Rule 3. Invest early and often. Not about being sophisticated, about time. Do you know the actual month your household started investing? Not when you meant to, when you actually did. That answer changes everything. Compound interest has been called the 8th wonder of the world. Not because it's complicated, because it doesn't care how hard you work, doesn't care how smart you are. It only responds to one thing: time. And most couples figure that out about 10 years too late. One number. I want you to hear it. A couple investing $1,000 a month combined, starting at 28. Approximately $2.7 million at 65. Same couple, same $1,000 a month, starting at 38 instead, $1.1 million. 10-year delay, $1.6 million gone. 80% of Americans wish they started investing earlier. The number one reason couples wait? They want to feel ready first. Savings to look better. The car paid off. Things to settle down. Things don't settle down. The start date just keeps moving. Old money didn't wait to feel ready. Both partners committed before it was comfortable, because settled never actually arrives. Rule 4 is what happens every time new money lands in your household, and most couples get this wrong in a very specific and very expensive way. Rule 4. Assets first, lifestyle second. Not about restriction, about sequence. When new money comes in, which comes first, assets or the lifestyle conversation? That answer puts you on one side of $1 million gap or the other. I'll be honest, this is the one I pushed back on in Richard's den. We'd just gotten a raise. I told him we were looking at a new apartment. Seemed reasonable to us. He looked at me and said, "That's exactly what I'm talking about." I didn't have a comeback. 7 in 10 Americans live paycheck to paycheck, not because they don't earn enough, because they spend first, then invest whatever's left, and whatever's left at the end of the month? Almost always nothing. Old money had one rule. When a raise, a bonus, or a tax refund landed, assets first. Always. A couple gets $15,000 in combined raises. Path 1, upgrade. New place, new car, better trip, 0 invested. 25 years at 8%, 0 from that raise. Path 2, invest $15,000. Keep the lifestyle. 25 years later, over $100,000 from that one call. Do that across every raise over 10 years. The gap crosses $1 million. Here's why it fails. The upgrade conversation starts the day the raise lands. The money feels real, the reward feels earned, the investment decision never gets made. Together, you commit before the money shows up. That's the only way this holds. 4 down, 3 to go. Quick score. Give yourself a point for each rule your household had before today. 1 through 4, drop that number in the comments right now. 3 seconds. Putting it in writing makes it real. Rule 5 isn't what you would expect. It completely changes how you think about spending. Stay with it. Rule 5. Spend on what compounds. Not about spending less, about spending differently. And here's the part that surprises people. Old money spent more than most people think. They just spent on the right things. 2 years ago, Sarah and I spent real money on things with zero immediate return. A financial advisor who found us more than his fee cost. A conference that changed where one of our careers went. Experiences that held our partnership together when things got hard. Every one of those came back. Multiples. Some spending comes back, some doesn't. Old money knew the difference before they spent a dollar. Money toward access, education, a skill that compounds, or an experience that holds your partnerships together under pressure, that grows. Money on things that lose value the moment you own them, gone. A 2024 study of high net worth families. Their biggest recreational spending category wasn't cars, wasn't jewelry, wasn't luxury goods. It was experiences. Old money spent on what grows, not on what signals. For a dual-income couple, this doubles your edge. 2 careers, 2 networks, 2 skill sets worth building. Old money treated both partners' growth as household assets. Here's why it fails. Spending with no immediate return feels wasteful. The thing you can see feels smarter than the investment you can't. This week, each of you picks one thing to spend on that grows, a skill, an advisor, an experience that builds something between you. Spend on that before anything depreciates. Rule 6 is the arrangement most modern couples get completely backwards, and it's the quietest way wealth disappears. Rule 6. Both people manage the money. Not about trust, about fluency. Can both of you run your household finances alone if you had to? If the answer is no, that's a problem that gets expensive fast. Old money gave the lower earning spouse equal say, not a courtesy, a requirement, because one partner not knowing the money is how generational wealth dies. Here's how it goes. One spouse handles everything. The other trusts them. Works great until it doesn't. That managing spouse dies or gets sick. The other is suddenly alone. Accounts they've never opened. Advisors they've never spoken to. Decisions they've never made. 10 years later, the money's gone. A 2025 Fidelity study. 97% of families say estate planning conversations matter. Nearly half have never had them. One person runs the money, the other trusts it's handled. That trust isn't a plan. Sarah and I asked each other one question 2 years ago. If one of us wasn't here tomorrow, would the other be okay? Not emotionally, financially, in control, not at the mercy of strangers, making decisions about money they've never seen. The answer was uncomfortable. We fixed it. Here's why it fails. The partner who isn't handling the money trusts the one who is. never builds their own understanding. That trust becomes a liability exactly when you need it most. This week, one review together, both of you in the room, both eyes on the same numbers. Rule 7 is the most counterintuitive rule on this list, the one I promised you from the very start. The last rule Richard shared was the one I least expected. He called it the most important. Never tell the children the number. Not about secrecy, about passing down the right thing first. Old money passed down principles, not balances. The kids knew what the family believed. Discipline builds wealth. Patience compounds. You earn what you get. What they didn't know was the net worth, the account balance, or what they'd inherit. That number stayed inside the marriage. Stanley found it consistently. The more money adult children received, the less they built themselves. Families that bailed out their adult kids raised adult kids who needed bailing out. A 20-year study of 3,250 wealthy families by Roy Williams. 70% lose their wealth by the second generation, 90% by the third. One generation builds it, the next spends it, by the third, gone. The families that break the cycle teach principles before handing over the assets. Kids learn first, build from them. When the money comes, they have the mindset to hold it. Here's why it fails. One parent cracks when a kid is struggling. Says too much, the message splits. Both parents have to hold the same line on the values, the conversations, and the silence around the number. This week, teach your kid one money habit. Not how much is in the account, why the account exists, how you save before you spend, why you invest before you upgrade. That lesson is worth more than any dollar amount you'll ever leave them. Together, you decide what gets passed down. That's the whole rule. I still think about that night in Richard's den, not because what he said was complicated, because it wasn't. 7 rules on a cocktail napkin. Things his family had followed for generations, quietly, without making a fuss, while everyone around them wondered how they did it. Old money never announces itself. It just compounds, quietly, for decades. And the rules Richard shared aren't locked behind a gate. They don't require his income, or his connections, or his country club memberships. They require 2 people, both partners, both committed, both making the same decisions before the money arrives. You just heard all 7. Here's what I want you to do tonight. Look at your partner and ask one question. Which of these 7 rules do we not have? Pick one. Start tonight. Which rule are you implementing first? Drop it in the comments because I read every one. You two have got this. Go talk about it tonight.